Greetings to respected jury. We are team 313. We are here to present credit report on Bharti Airtel. This is our approach. Our approach includes company and industry analysis followed by financial analysis, investment summary and recommendation. Let's now begin with company snapshot. With its more than 19 years of rich experience in telecom industry, this MNC has travelled far to become world's third largest telecom operator. It is ranked as the #1 operator in India and #2 operator in Africa. It began its journey in year 1998 with launch of its services in Himachal Pradesh and Delhi. Since then it expanded its footprint across India and beyond India too. Along this journey it has launched different new services, products such as 3G, 4G services, DTH, Airtel Money, etc. We did internal analysis of Bharti Airtel using SWOT framework. Starting with strength, it has largest subscriber market share which accounts to 29.64% in India as of 2018. Also, it is the only player with a pan-India 4G 3G spectrum. Talking about weakness, outsourcing operations help the company in lowering its cost, but on the other hand, they are running the risk of being dependent on some other companies which may affect its operations. There are few opportunities that company can leverage, such as India's digital payment space is expected to grow to $1 trillion by 2023. Low teledensity in India and Africa also presents a lucrative opportunity for Bharti Airtel. Frequent changes in government policies and auction of spectrum on a regular basis is a potential threat to the stability of company.
So now coming to business description, we will talk about the business portfolio. If we look at the business hierarchy of Airtel, it can be divided into two segments, that is B2B and B2C. B2B segment consists of Airtel business, passive tower infrastructure, Africa and South Asia business, while B2C segment consists of mobile services, home services and digital TV. In the year 2017-18, B2C segment has generated 54% revenue, which is relatively higher compared to B2B segment, which generated only 46% of the total revenue. Now let's have a sneak peek of the diversified service portfolio. The key business areas are wireless services, home services, digital TV services, Airtel business, payment bank and tower infrastructure. Now coming to the business model, there are 5 key components of the business model that fueled Airtel's phenomenal growth. Let's have a look at them one by one. The first component is the brilliant network of the Airtel. It has been rated as India's fastest mobile network by Ookla, the global leader in broadband net testing. Airtel has invested major amount in acquiring best spectrum and passing the benefit to customers by offering highest 4G speed, which is 10.1 Mbps. Airtel is obsessed with customers with serving through loyalty programs and offers. As a result of these incentives, we can witness that mobile broadband customer base has been increasing over the years. Moving to the scientific sales and distribution, we see that Airtel has adopted the scientific micro-marketing to reach out its target customer with a strong distribution network of 18,000 distributors to efficiently serve its 300 million customers. Coming to the fourth component, that is cost frugality, we see that Airtel has focused on stripping out waste and driving cost efficiencies. They have developed a prudent cost operational model through focus on smart procurement and process optimization. This has led to a decrease in business cost of Airtel India. Airtel is pioneer in driving new innovations and building additional revenue generating lines such as payment banks, Wing, etc. Looking at the geographical presence, Airtel is not just restricted to India, but it has wide geographical presence in 3 countries in Asia and 18 countries in Africa. Looking at this, we can say Airtel is in good state to benefit from Indian and international demand. Now going ahead regarding the management and corporate governance, we will look about some key highlights of various corporate governance policies adopted by Airtel. We find that almost 55% of the board is represented by independent directors and there are 2 women representatives in it. There are 6 board committees and most of these have more than 50% of independent directors.
Next, we performed the global industry analysis to understand the current situation, and this is what we found out. The global telecom market is expected to grow at a rate of 5.4% in the next 5 years. With the growing presence of 5G and IoT, these are expected to be the driving forces. We then used the Porter's 5 Forces framework to analyze the telecom industry. Here we discovered that even though the threat of new entrants as well as the threat of substitute products is low, the competitive rivalry along with the bargaining power of customers and suppliers is relatively high. Since Airtel has a growing presence in Africa, we also studied the industry scenario there to find the future potentials. It also has a huge potential, as can be seen by the fact that it has been the fastest growing mobile market in the world during the past 5 years. After the global industry analysis, we then move on to the analysis of the industry in India. Here we see that the India's telephone subscriber base as well as the wireless subscriptions have expanded at a CAGR of 17.4 and 19.6% respectively in the last decade. This is paired with a growth of 147% year-on-year in the total wireless data usage during the first quarter of FY19. All this growth is further complemented with a growing penetration in the rural sector. The share of the rural sector has increased from 33.5% in FY11 to 44.05% in FY19. We then move on to the competition analysis. Here we discovered that Airtel is the market leader in the cellular mobile phone services as well as the landline services. The data pricing war led by RJio can be seen to have had an impact in the data tariffs of all the major players. This can be seen by the fact that the data tariffs of all the major players have plummeted over 25% in a year. This can also be seen in the fall in the EBITDA margin. It has fallen by approximately 20% in the last 7 quarters. Even though these facts have had an adverse effect on Airtel, it has managed to still perform consistently better as compared to Idea and Arcom. This can be seen in the trends in their share prices. Let's now talk about the capital structure. The gearing ratio has worsened from 37.2% to 38.7% in 2018, which indicates that the debt has increased in higher proportion as compared to the capital. If you take a look at the shareholding pattern, the majority can be seen to be held by the promoters. When we now look up at the breakup of total borrowings, we observe that the major component of borrowings were governed by the deferred payment liabilities and the non-convertible bonds. There has been a reduction in the percentage change of debt to equity and long-term debt to equity in the last 1 year as a result of the divestment of Infratel and DTH stakes. The interest coverage ratio has also been seen to be decreasing as operating income has decreased.
Now to further analyze the company's financial performance, we have benchmarked the company against leading Indian competitors like Vodafone Idea and international competitors like Axiata Group. We have chosen global players which has operations in Africa, keeping in mind that Airtel generates almost 25% of revenue from there. If you look at the current ratio and quick ratio of the company, they increased as a short-term investment and tax receivables increased more with respect to rise in current liability. The asset turnover ratio is decreasing as the company's current assets are increasing. The asset turnover ratio of the company is higher, whereas the current and quick ratios are lower compared to its competitors. All cash flow ratios have shown incremental trend over the last year. This is because of rising cash flow from operations and decreasing sales EBITDA in the last year. Let's have a look at financial analysis. EBITDA margin decreased by 16% in the last year, and major reasons were impact of IUC rate cut in India, divestment of operating units in Africa and Bangladesh, and acquisition of Tigo Rwanda. Despite an ARPU improvement, we expect India mobile services revenue to decline due to drop in total subscribers. If you look at a passive infrastructure, its services revenue is likely to decline with the impact of merger of Vodafone Idea. We find that company's EBITDA margin is at par with its competitors, which is almost in the range of 36 to 37%, implying good operational performance. If you look at ROA and ROE of the company, they both have been decreasing in recent years, but still it is better than top competitors. The ROE for the company decreased due to increase in minority interest and the decline in ROE is because of a rise in short-term investment, which basically implies that company is not able to effectively utilize its assets.
We now move on to the investment summary. Here we first check the ratings given by the various rating agencies. We can see that CRISIL, ICRA and Fitch have a stable outlook while S&P has a negative outlook. Next, we saw the rationale to these ratings. Some of the major factors favoring the firm are the growth in the wireless industry as well as the growing performance in Africa. The raising of almost $1.2 billion in Africa has helped in reducing its debt. Some of the challenges that it could face are the high debt levels that it acquired for Telenor India and Ticonor Digital Networks. The growing competitive pressure can also have a negative impact on its growth. Any unexpected spectrum bids could also result in additional debt.
Now we'll start with the credit rating of Airtel. We have used Standard & Poor's corporate methodology to come up with the rating for the Bharti Airtel Limited. Here we have used two-pronged approach, where we have used business risk profile and financial risk profile to come up with the credit rating for the Airtel. We based our business risk profile on CICRA, that is corporate industry and country risk assessment and competitive positioning. Cash flow and leverage ratios were used to estimate the financial risk profile of the company. We determined the CICRA by combining country and industry risk. About 75% of the revenue comes from India region, whereas 25% of revenue comes from Africa. We used S&P country rating to come up with the overall weighted average rating for this company. We estimated that country risk will be around 3. Then moving on to industry risk analysis, we looked for the cyclicity of the industry and competitive landscape of the industry. Jio has become a synonym of competition in telecom industry in India. Therefore, we'll see the sustained pricing competition in India. Hence, Airtel will face the intermediate risk in the industry. Then we combine the country risk rating and the industry risk rating to come up with a CICRA of 3. Now, for competitive positioning, we looked for 3 parameters: competitive advantage assessment, diversity nature of the company, and operating efficiency of the company. Airtel has diversified business based on geography and business verticals as well. Airtel's presence in 18 African countries and future scope in African telecom industry gives us a positive picture of Airtel. Along with that, various business verticals like D2H and direct to home services makes Airtel's business more diversified. For operating efficiency, we saw that the Airtel was performing better than its competitors. Therefore, we come up with a satisfactory rating based on the competitive positioning. So, combining CICRA and competitive positioning assessment, we come up with the rating of 3. After doing the business risk profiling, we moved on to the second prong of our analysis, that is financial risk profile. To understand this, we use the 3 types of ratios: core ratios, supplementary coverage ratios, and supplementary payback ratios. This rating was driven by the probable reduction in debt due to the sale of minority stakes in Africa unit, provided a positive look for Airtel. But on the other hand, the sharp depreciation of rupee versus US dollar coupled with the weaker top line performance in the first half cycle of the fiscal year of 2019 paints a gloomy picture of Airtel. Also, due to 40% of debt in foreign mixed currencies raises an issue of foreign exchange risk for Airtel. This risk gets a little relief due to the natural hedging because of the global operations. Considering all these parameters, we came up with a significant financial risk. Finally, combining the financial risk profile and the business risk profile, we come up with a rating of BBB- for Airtel. This is our current outlook of the Bharti Airtel Limited. But based on how Airtel reacts in the market, when market changes, will determine the Airtel's future positioning. We see competitive pricing could be one of the reasons which might cause Airtel's less EBITDA margins, along with the unexpected spectrum bids of 5G may result in additional debt for the company. On the other hand, global market expansion along with debt reduction due to the sales stakes of African unit paints a bright future for Airtel. Though industry is a competitive one, Airtel has always managed to be the industry leader. So watching in Airtel setting the tone of the industry, will be interesting. Thank you.